Hi, friend, and welcome. I'm Marilee. Thank you for joining my podcast, Express Light. I believe we each have a unique gift and ability. Being created by nature, I have the desire to start my own business, and I know firsthand how important it is to blend creativity and business together. It has not always been easy for me, but I have successfully built my boutique serving people from all over the world. Because of my experience, I am passionate about helping others like myself who are looking to express light in their own lives through their gift, skill, or talent, and make a living doing it. If that's you, tune in each week as I provide tips, interview those who are successful in their craft, as well as share enlightening stories of how to build a business as a creative entrepreneur. Welcome to Express Light. Hi and welcome. This is Marilee, and you are listening to Express Light, and I'm so excited that you've joined me today. I am going to share my personal story today, a little bit of my experience just as a mom, wife, and an entrepreneur. I believe that women think differently when it comes to business, and I think we come from a more creative perspective, and maybe not just women. There are just some people in life who think more creatively, especially entrepreneurs, and especially entrepreneurs who like to do things with their hands, build things, create things, make things. I love to support local artists, and I provide a lot of local artistry in my shop. And for me, it's given me the chance to get to know a lot of different individuals in their craft and hear their story. And I just love being able to come from that angle and share because I relate. I started years ago designing clothing for my girls. I have two girls. My husband and I have two girls. And when they were real young, I just started creating things on my own. So I started making things for them. And then that led to designing children's clothing. I had no experience. I just learned the hard knocks of how to put things together, how to sell them. I had people starting to ask where I got their outfits from. And so I just started kind of learning this craft. It took me a while, it wasn't overnight, but I started learning this craft and how to put it together, how to sell. And eventually I started selling to stores. I would go knock on doors and ask if they were interested in my product. And that led to selling to stores across the country. And it was just a fun time of learning a lot, learning how to make more than one item at a time that was similar and learning sizing. I mean, it was bare bones, just experience, hard knocks, figure it out. And I can't say that there were not difficult times. I can't say that there were not trial and error. But what I can say is I did not give up. I kept working at this craft, and my favorite part was just seeing customers love the outfits. And I mean, at this time, I was helping parents dress their kids, and it was just so fun to get to know other moms, and the kids loved what they were wearing. The store owners that I would sell to would rave about the clothing, and it was just a fun time of not only being a mom, but being an entrepreneur as well. I didn't realize really that I was an entrepreneur. I just knew I was doing what I loved, and that was designing. And I think that's the place that you have to come from when you are looking to get into your own business. I think you have to love what you're doing. And so for me, that's just always the angle that I've taken. And I'm definitely a creative minded person. So I take from being able to do things with my hands and being able to construct and create and be very colorful in the things that I do. So fast forward a few years, our girls are a little older, and we moved to the country, and my husband took a job transfer across the country. And we lived in the Midwest for several years. And when we moved there, I was not able to take my craft and my whole business because I had several people that worked for me. I had a large space, and we were moving to a whole new area where I didn't know anyone. We didn't have any experience in that area. And our kids were a little older and it was going to be a new adventure for them. So I rolled up the carpet for a little bit and I just played mom, which was a wonderful time of my life as well. Just being able to spend time with with our girls and be able to really invest in their lives at the time. And then as I was doing that, I started designing for them personally as they were getting into their hobby, which then led to people asking where their outfits came from, because I would design for their sport, which is showing horses. We love horses in our family. And that ended up becoming such a fun way to still do my craft, still design and love creating for people. And I also was able to do this with enjoying our hobby and watching our girls and being all together as a family. It was a wonderful experience. And I did that for several years, and I still do that today. I do still on the side, here and there, help friends of mine that are longtime friends find what they're looking for in custom clothing. And as our girls got older, as they moved on, they're now married and settled in their own lives. My husband's company took us back to our home state, which we now reside in California. And I saw an opportunity to open a boutique on Cannery Row. I stepped into that opportunity, and it has been such a wonderful experience of being able to do what I did for so many years and what I wanted to do. In that, I was able to not only have a space to be able to provide clothing, but I was able to support other local artists. And I love doing this. It gives me a chance to get to know people, gets me a chance to support people who have their own craft and make handmade items and just give a place for people to come and find unique items that you don't just find every day. So, to kind of put in perspective, a summary of my perspective in my history, my work history, I really feel like it comes down to expressing your love and your joy in what you do in your craft. And your personality comes out in the things that you make. No one can copy your style. And it doesn't really matter where you're located, because I promise that each time that I was designing for specific reasons, I was in a different place physically, and I was in a different style or hobby or interest via children's clothing or the horse industry, or now I'm down in on a beachfront location and offering women's clothing, but it's all fashion related, which is what I love, and it's all centered on serving the individual in front of me. And when you're expressing your creativity and your passion, it really doesn't matter the angle that you're taking. It matters that you love what you're doing, that you're putting your heart in what you're doing, that you're putting your creativity and you're expressing your thoughts, your feelings in your craft. And the joy is going to be evident in what you're doing in the response of the people around you that want to participate in what you're offering. And to share a little bit deeper in my personal story, I kind of want to share a true story that actually did happen to me and give you a little bit of insight of, how do you really get a business off the ground and how do you make things happen even though you're in the midst of life and life can be full of trauma and pressure and hard things and just experience that are unexpected. It can be good things and it can be wonderful things, but can also be very busy things that make it hard to really get the work done so that you can actually turn something into a business. And so to kind of give you perspective, I want to let you know a little bit more of my personal story through all of the times that you've now heard me talk about my business story. Through this one little true thing that did happen. See, there was one evening not too long ago, it was here in Monterey, that I pulled into a gas station. And mind you, this was right before COVID hit. And it had been just a long, rainy evening. And I pulled in to get some gas. And a young woman stepped out of her car and she walked over and asked if I had any change. And, in that moment, I really was just ready to be home from work. And I was like, not sure how to take the situation. And I told her no. But something in my heart stirred, and it's like I just knew that this was different. She had gone back and sat in her car, and I just couldn't leave the moment alone. So I walked over and tapped on her window. It was raining, and her window's soaking wet. And she looks up at me, and she had just tears flowing down her eyes. She had been staring at her phone. When I tapped on her window, she looked up at me and she just had fearful tears. And at that very moment, my mind flashed back to all the times that, like, I've had questions because it has been a tough road. It hasn't been super easy to make things happen. I've been Lindsay. I've been the person sitting in my car questioning how I would accomplish my goals, where the answers would come from. I felt alone in a lot of situations. I was alone, or I should say, our family was alone when we moved across country and settled in an area where we knew no one. I was alone when I found out the news of my brother facing cancer, and I was states away. I wasn't able to just run home and be with everyone. I had kids that I was raising, and I was running a business. I had a job because at that time I was working part time and doing my business to get it off the ground. There was all kinds of complications. So it was hard for me to just pick up and be gone for several months to spend the time with family. And when you get news like that, when you get a phone call, I can remember sitting in um, our barn and just thinking to myself through all the things that we were facing as a family now, what all the questions that we had. My brother had three small boys. And I just was crushed because here I am with my girls older, and he may not get to see his very small boys grow up. I was losing a brother. I was detached from family, and that was a tough moment to be alone. We lost my brother about a year later, and a week after we put my brother in the ground, I was alone again when I got the call from my dad that he was now facing cancer. I was at an event for my daughter, and he called, and I can remember him saying it was something important. So I went out and sat in my car alone and heard the news that he was now facing cancer. And then a year later than that, we lost my dad. Within 18 months, we lost five really close family members. And our family faced that alone, away from all our extended family. We weren't able to go to all the events that transpired. So when I say I understand being alone, what I mean is I understand the pains and heartaches of not having someone right there as a mentor and a support for you when you are facing those difficult times. I understand having to reach out and ask people for help. I understand having to find the answers that nobody knows. My father was an entrepreneur, my brother was a lawyer, and I relied heavily on those two. They were such strong mentors for me, and I no longer had that in my life. And so when I looked at Lindsay that night, it just flashed in my mind, how bold she was. She, even in that very night, told me, as she was talking to me, a complete stranger, that she was not comfortable to talk to her family about her questions that she had for whatever reason. But she didn't have that connection. And I understood in that moment what it was like to not have that connection. But what I will tell you is that I have learned to network and I have learned to express myself and ask. And I have received positive insight. I'm not limited. I have appreciated those who've helped me, having family members pass from cancer, moving to another state, homeschooling my kids. That was a whole new experience too. My kids had been in traditional school all those years, but when we moved across state or across the country, it just became important for us to homeschool our kids because of the circumstances that we would be in. And so that was a whole new journey. I learned to design and sell custom fashion. I navigated a pandemic 1 month after opening my first brick and mortar. I mean, I've gained wisdom from each of these things. And I know that each of us have overcome different scenarios. And so, my question to you is, what are the answers that you need? Because we all have strengths and insight from experience. See, I'm just your everyday woman. I've chosen to believe, and I believe that there are answers and there are people that I can ask. I hope the same for you. I personally provide boutique fashion and I help the creator get unstuck. But my passion is community where women can come together and support. And if you have the answer that another woman may need, join my community. Be on this podcast with me at Express Light. Join me, connect with me at marileesdesigns.com. Message me on Instagram, whatever it takes, but let's connect. Let's fashion a better, more meaningful life. We exchanged numbers that evening, Lindsay and I. And I got a message from her a week later saying, "You have no idea how your words helped me that evening." You see, my words were the fuel that she needed in that moment. And what I'm asking you to do is to step out of the dark. Don't sit in the dark with your craft. You can accomplish your goals and your dreams. You can take your creativity and do it for a living. You can be the business entrepreneur that you want to be. And in my community, when we work together, the answer that you may need is only one message away. Have a great day, friend. I hope that you message and that we get your answers for you, get you started on the path to success, because I am here to see your creativity come to life.